Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our special Housing Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, July 23rd. My name is Andrea Schott, the Council President and Organizer for our virtual meetings. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few guidelines to help us navigate the system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off camera for the length of the meeting. As organizer, I reserve the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council members and city staff will control their own mute button. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a council member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hands. The chairperson will call on them before they speak, their name clearly for our audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website. Although we will not have public speaking tonight, you could submit written comments to the City of Kingston Clerk, Elisa Tinty, at emtinty@kingston-ny.gov, or by dropping them off at the drop box located outside the side door of City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to your ward's representative at any time. If you have any audio issues, send a text message to the following number, 845-594-6120. Please be aware calls will not be answered during the meeting. The number to text is 845-596. As the organizer for today's meeting, I reserve the right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance Chair Alderman Rennie Scott Childress and special committee members Alderman Don Tollerman and Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch. Thank you for your patience during these difficult times, and on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health, and I now turn the floor to Chair Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you, President Schott. Rennie Scott Childress here. Welcome to everyone who's with us tonight. We have a number of, I would say, more administrative things to go over, looking at tonight's topics. The first thing is to gather up any updates regarding housing developments. So I wonder, Don, do you have any updates on some of the things you've been looking at?
Okay, so only one, which is I have been regarding the Golden Hill property and surrounding, it's about 47 acres. There's been a nice, a lot of interest from developers to develop multifamily housing up there. Similarly, the other open space we've been talking about for development is the Lawton Park parcel, actually 4 parcels, well, more like 6, I guess, but on the other side, really very across from Golden Hill almost. And so I've been working with potential developers about what type of development might go in there, and to try to help move things along, I've been discussing with Dennis Doyle and Sue Cahill what might be an appropriate zoning, with the idea that if we have the property zoned for multifamily now, it will help with speed along the development. Could be by 4 or 5 months. These things take a long time.
Yeah.
So I consulted with Dennis Doyle about what they thought was the best zoning category. I consulted with Sue Cahill, and what I'm going to recommend is that it's R6, and R6 is for multifamily. It does not allow for mixed use. It does not allow for a deli or any kind of store. However, if a developer is building that, they can at that time ask for a variance. If they feel that some retail might be helpful, or having some professional offices might be helpful, then they can go to the planning board and ask for a variance for the project. And I think there's a good likelihood that would be met favorably. So I am going to be submitting a communication to the council president recommending these zoning changes for both properties. We've identified about 6 or 7 lots on Golden Hill, and about 5 or 6 lots on Lawton Park. And that will hopefully be in next month's city council. The city council president will refer it to one of the, where would that go, Randy? Would that have to go to Laws and Rules?
I'm not sure the proper committee for that one. I'll leave that to the president. That's her bailiwick.
Yes, exactly. So,
It would probably go to Laws and Rules, Don. And if you want it for August, just get to me by the 31st, next Friday.
So Dan Gartenstein is helping me put the proper legalese into that communication. So you'll be seeing that fairly soon, Andrea.
Great. Thanks so much for doing that, Don. It's really exciting.
Great.
We also want to make sure that everyone knows that this coming Tuesday, July 28th at 6:30 p.m., there will be a special meeting of the Finance Committee to look at the pilot request from the Kingstonian developers. This is a request that was developed in close association with Dan Baker, the city's assessor. We've seen Dan Baker put together some wonderful pilot agreements over the past couple of years now. It seems like he's got a real talent for working out good approaches to these things. From what I understand, too, the IDA, despite an article in the Freeman to the contrary, it's generally favorable to the request. So I strongly encourage everybody to look closely at this request and to keep in mind, one of the things that I keep seeing in some of the correspondence to me is a feeling that somehow a pilot agreement is the taxpayers giving money to a developer, and that's not how it works. It's a structure for future taxes. And in this particular case, the pilot agreement is entirely geared toward producing the parking garage, which is the original ask of the city in the RFQ. The original ask was for someone to develop a parking garage that wouldn't cost the city any money. And so that's what the pilot agreement is for. If you put together the figures relating to the cost of building the parking garage and maintaining it, and you play that out over the next 25 years, it comes out to about 30. The figure they're asking for is 30 million over that time, which again is not money that comes out of anybody's pocket. It is money that is taken care of through the tax structure over that 25 years. Don or Michelle, do you have anything to add to that?
I can add that, Randy, the meeting is purely informative. Is that correct on the 30th?
No, I believe that it is, we have to make a decision.
Well, the council has to make a decision, though. That's, I know it would go to the meeting, but I was told that we're not going to come to a vote that night.
Well, then we better check on that, because my understanding was that the Finance Committee would vote, and then it would come before us at the Common Council on the 4th. But I will check on that and make sure. Michelle?
This is Alderwoman Hirsch. I asked for clarification on that from Alderman Coop, Chair of Finance, and he said that we are voting on Tuesday.
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Randy, what my understanding was that the developer wanted to make a presentation to the council, just informative. Did you hear that at all? Like prior to a vote?
They will be there at the meeting. So, if there are any questions left over, we can bring them up then.
Okay.
I mean, the official vote doesn't happen until August 4th at the council meeting. So the communication that the mayor sent to me asking for a special finance meeting, I believe his intentions are for it to either go through the finance committee or the finance committee not let it go through, but moving to council in 2 weeks.
Okay, so it'll be just voting to move it to council 2 weeks later.
A week later, yep.
A week later, okay. Thanks.
All right. So anything more substantive on anything substantive on other housing projects? Michelle Hirsch?
When you asked me this is Alderwoman Hirsch, when you had asked me, Rennie, if I wanted this on the agenda, it had already gone through laws and rules, but since then, so a developer, that owns some property in my ward, in Ward 9, a lot, on Montrepose Avenue, it's number 2 through 6, Montrepose Avenue. They have requested a zoning change from RRR, which is one family residence, to RT, which is the Rondout zoning. At the request of some neighbors in the area, specifically West Chestnut Street area, I put together a ward meeting for the owner of the property and architect and developer of the property, Andrew Wright, to speak to the neighbors. And that's going to be on Saturday, August 1st at 12 p.m. on the upper section of Hasbrook Park. Bring a chair, bring a blanket. Can't use the pavilion, but spread out, socially distance, bring some water, bring a mask, bring some sunscreen.
Will you have a megaphone for people to talk to?
So we'll have a soapbox on.
All right. Great. Okay. So if there's nothing, if we're done with that part, then we can move on to establishing public forums to discuss short-term regulations. So I was wondering if you all had thoughts on how to proceed with this in the sense of what to present to folks. One possibility I thought of would be that we could develop a set of regulations first, and then offer that for people to look at, critique, and respond to. Or another option would be to develop a menu of possibilities. This is sort of what Dennis Doyle gave us, and then we could publicize that, especially to people who want to come to any of the meetings. And then, of course, any other approach that you all think makes some sense. Any feeling for that?
Ever the guy that wants to move things faster, why can we develop some legislation based on not only Dennis Doyle's presentation, but on similar regulations around the country? And there's even around us, there's plenty of relevant examples, and submit it to committee. Like, in other words, how important is it to go through the full process of public hearings?
These would not be public hearings per se. That's usually a more formal part of the process. They would be forums, where the idea was to bring people together from different parts of the community. Because one of the things that Dennis Doyle emphasized in his presentation was getting public buy-in before going to a final set of regulations. So, I'm open to that. I was going on what Dennis recommended, but if the two of you feel strongly differently in a different way, then we can certainly talk about that.
Well, this would apply just to our city, obviously, not to the county. Do you know what the county is doing in this area?
In what sense? You mean, are they passing their own regulations?
Correct.
I don't know exactly what they have. I'm pretty sure that there's a tax that they charge already, but I don't know if they have other regulations in place. My sense is no, because, certainly they don't extend into Kingston, so.
Right.
My understanding is it's been municipality by municipality. So I think we should just look at, what the various Ulster County municipalities have done and put together something for legislation for ourselves that we can then just start working on and communicating with the public.
Okay, so you like the idea of crafting a piece of legislation first and then sending that out and getting responses to it?
Yeah.
Well, sending it out to who?
It'd have to go out. The question is public buy-in. So we could, probably put it on the city's website. We could, whenever we have, if we're having any, public meetings anytime soon, Michelle's having her ward meeting on the 9th, for example, that would be a place to share it. We could also send it out via email to everybody who's on our email list, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, but who would draft this?
Well, that would be the other question. If we decide to draft something first and then get responses to it, that would be a question of getting one of the three of us, probably, or two of us, or however we decide to do it, to take that on. There are, like Michelle noted, there are, I think, 5 municipalities in Ulster County that have passed some form of regulations. Woodstock, Marbletown. I guess I'm thinking also of Rhinebeck across the river. And I believe that I provided either newspaper articles or actual links to those laws in some of our previous communications. So we could just look at those and among the three of us, maybe pick and choose what we think looks good, put that into the pot and see how much we agree. And then give ourselves maybe a deadline of, you think, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, what sounds good?
I think that's a workable solution. I just know there's going to be, okay, guys, we got to rank this thing.
Okay. Can I add one? I know that I said Ulster County, but I feel like we should look at a city, another small city, like maybe, Beacon or somewhere that also has a big issue with gentrification. So, and see what they've done as well. Just,
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think there was at least a newspaper article about what Beacon did. But anyway, so sure, we can do that. So the idea is then to have all three of us take a look at those materials, any other ones, if we see other laws from a place like Beacon, if it's not in the materials that we already have, draw up a list of the different items that we think should be included. That probably should be done within the next 2 weeks. And then over the following 2 weeks, we discuss, if we all come up with the same list, that'll be great. If not, we can either, debate a little bit further at one of these meetings about which regulations to put in, or, we can put something forward that's got the things we think are essential, and then give a list of the things where there's more of a menu approach for other folks to look at.
I'm sorry, Rennie, did we have a guest scheduled for today?
No.
Oh, I thought, wasn't someone going to share with us their development idea?
Not that I know of.
No. Not K&R?
No, you and I have a meeting next week.
To listen to K&R?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Great. So the plan then is to have us all look at short-term regulation legislation over the next 2 weeks. Bring our ideas together. See what we've got. And then if we need more time to put something together, we'll take 2 more weeks. So that means by about the end of August, we should have something workable to share with folks and see what kind of feedback we get.
I think that's reasonable. But if we slip into September, we slip into September.
Okay. Yeah, do either of you have any sense of how much short-term rentals are going on right now?
Oh, well, Dennis has that in his presentation. He has an estimate of how many in the city of Kingston. I'm not sure where.
I know, but like in the COVID crisis, I'm just wondering if the numbers have fallen off. The actual usage is what I mean.
I think
I could tell you just from a personal note, because somebody I know owns one, and they're getting calls constantly and turning people away.
Really?
Yeah. If anything,
but actually, it's like 1 month to 3 month long stays. So that's been going on probably for a couple months, and the people that I know who own short-term rentals are getting a lot of calls.
Okay.
Yeah, my sense, Rennie, is that there's many people in Manhattan and Brooklyn who have gotten out a map or Google Maps and drawn a circle that's probably 100-mile or 2-hour commute from the city radius, and they're looking for short-term rentals to get into until there's normalcy back in the city. So because of COVID, I think there's been a surge in demand.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Great. So then, is everybody good on that one? Then we're clear on what we're doing there. Okay. So the next item here is developing an agenda to deal with upcoming housing concerns like rising real estate prices, threats of large-scale eviction, rising rents, etc. So I'm wondering, I was wondering if this is, it's hard for me to envision completely what all could happen here. I think we need to discuss too what tools the city actually has. It'd be nice if we had a lot of money and we could just fix things, but we don't. And then I'm wondering if we have some idea about how Michael Gilliard might be able to contribute on this score, if this is something that's in his quiver of responsibilities or not.
I think Michael offered to set up cots in the Andy Murphy Center.
All right. We'll hold him to that then. Yes, Michelle.
Alderwoman Hershare, I just wanted to, I reached out to Peter Frank, who is the senior staff attorney at Legal Services of the Hudson Valley, just to check in with him on how things are with city court right now in terms of evictions and what that landscape looks like. They were awarded some community block money to help with the eviction crisis. So he said that he's been advised that Kingston City Court will not be open for hearings in regular landlord-tenant cases until on or around August 20th. It is his understanding that no eviction warrants can be signed or served by the court, the city marshal, or the Ulster County Sheriff until that date. It is also his understanding that most landlord attorneys have already begun issuing notices to tenants, both non-payment and holdover notices, and taking other predicate actions to be ready to file pleadings in eviction cases in court as soon as the first week of August. He does not have a good picture of the number of eviction cases that will be filed in court, but whatever that number will be, it will be in addition to the about 40 open eviction cases that they have currently handling from pre-COVID calendar, substantial number of which will result in pending warrants being served and tenants being removed as a result.
Michelle, a question?
Yeah.
I heard August 1st and I heard August 20th. And then I thought they had till the end of August before it being evicted.
So the way the executive order was written for evictions, it says August 20th if you're affected by COVID. But if you were going to be evicted, you were already served a warrant prior to COVID, and it was like you had a 14-day window, and then they put the moratorium in place. Those tenants have been able to stay.
Okay, so that's a relatively small number. But
so he's expecting at least, he says,
take the hit August 20th, the large majority.
Yes.
Because that's when, I mean, and isn't it true in New York City? It's August 1st.
No, they're the same dates.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't
and he's saying that he's expecting to be assigned at least another 40 new cases in late August, early September.
I think it could be 140. But isn't it?
Well, he's not saying that that many cases going through court. He's saying that's how many he would handle. So
I see. So aren't the landlords shouldn't be able to do this in advance? Like they need to wait until August 20th, not before, right?
They can start serving notices, he's saying, to people that will be evicted for not, and then they can start filing their cases in court as the first week of August. They can't be served, but that the landlords can file their petitions in court.
So Rennie, is what you're saying that you're seeing a coming avalanche, and what the hell can we do?
Oh, this is one of the issues. Yeah. I mean, there's other issues that we're facing.
But we're going to have a lot of people that are evicted, forcibly removed, and not with a place to go unless their family will take them in somewhere.
Right. And that's going to put a big strain then on DSS, because if you've got people who are now homeless because they can't afford other places because rents are rising because of all these folks coming up from the city, this is something that we've got to prepare for. I guess we should also probably try to be in closer contact with the county to see what they're doing on this score. Does anybody have any idea?
Well, the county issued community block development money also for people to access to help pay back their rent. So if they can make good faith efforts to pay back rent and then keep current on their rent, it doesn't necessarily mean they will be evicted.
Right. That's a short-term relief, right? A few months maybe. I mean, people are losing their jobs, especially in tourism related, and we know that our region is heavily tourism related. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm seeing is a humanitarian disaster.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for months.
Well, I'm wondering, do you all think there's any possibility of getting residents in Kingston to say people who own a single family home and have extra space, extra rooms to volunteer to put people up for a while? I don't know what the...
Not if we regulate short-term rentals.
Well, there you go. Yeah. We could have two levels of short-term rentals.
The answer is yes. If people have a garage or an attic, if they can, have some assistance as to how to convert that to housing, even if it's temporary, hey, you too can convert your basement into a apartment. Here's some people who can help you find contractors, but that's the other thing, Randy. Contractors are through the roof busy right now. You cannot get a contractor because of all the people that have come up here permanently. So it's very hard to get the work done.
Well, there's that, but there's also, the problem is if you've got a single family home, if you live in a place where it's zoned single family residence, then there may be zoning issues if you try to move another family into that home. Right?
Oh, great point.
So, these are some of the issues that we would have to look at to see if we could get volunteers. But we might be able to, get a special dispensation. The other thing is you'd have to have clear time limits so somebody who did volunteer to take part in a program like this, they would know that they were doing it only for 1 month, or, we'd have to make sure that there aren't any laws that would then require the moved in family or give them the power to stay longer than whatever the agreed to time was.
Well, I have a thought. Nobody's going to church anymore or temple or anything because of COVID.
Yeah.
So there are some spaces that could maybe temporarily house people.
Okay.
Not ideal. It's horrible actually, but people are not going to church or temple.
That's a good idea. All right. The other things the other things we're seeing are a crazy increase in real estate prices. So I'm just wondering if it seems like, from my understanding of talking to a couple of real estate agents, that they're expecting that this is going to continue for quite a while. Do you all have any information on that score? Heard any feedback along those lines?
I certainly agree that it's going to continue. The only way to put brakes on it is by creating more affordable housing, which, it's a conundrum. Yeah, people are getting out of Gotham City. they are coming up here and they have money and they're buying houses. You know that currently most new homes are having bidding wars, up to 10 offers on every house. Many of them are being purchased sight unseen, and local people are being outbid constantly because these people are competing suitors are coming in all cash. No mortgage contingency, and it's really, is it gentrification? Yes, there's some gentrification happening. It's a problem that it's happening in Atlanta and Chicago, and this is a national crisis, really. I don't have an answer.
Well, one thing that some municipalities have done is to impose a real estate transfer fee. We have something like this for large projects. They pay money into the recreation fund, for example. And so I believe that the mayor's administration was looking into this a little bit.
What, to earmark that money for housing development?
That's right, yeah. That would be the idea, is to take that so that, you would have then a couple of avenues for developing affordable housing. One would be, if we do have the rule about 10% of any development over X size has to be has to be dedicated to affordable housing. But then you also develop a real estate transfer tax or fee, so that then, as we get these increased housing prices, we're able to take some of that money or some element of that money and turn it toward at least seed money, if not something more substantial,
right,
for affordable housing.
Well, what you said is a good idea. I think you should write that down as something that we should think about how we can make that happen here.
Will you be talking to Dan Gartenstein again soon about any of these real estate issues?
Yes, we'll be speaking soon about the zoning change I mentioned.
Would you mind bringing this up with him and asking, because I mentioned it to him a while back, and I believe the mayor was already looking into this. So, if you just happen to mention it, otherwise I can ask Michael too.
Just to recap, the idea is some sort of transfer tax that you pay at closing that is earmarked to enable housing development, affordable housing. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes. I'll put that on my list.
Great. So anything else on that particular score?
Yeah, how about your patio? Could we fit a small yurt there?
Sure. As long as well, actually, we've got that whole stretched out backyard. The land trust is doing something interesting. It's not quite related, but Jimmy Buff just let me know that there's a program where you can work with somebody who does not have land, who wants to, plant crops or something like that, or plant foodstuffs. And so if you've got, a large part of your yard that you're not using, you could actually then create an agreement with somebody who would come in and they would, in a sense, farm that little plot on your land. And, so you would have this nice exchange. But I don't know if something like that could happen with housing.
Right. Okay.
Michelle, anything else on looking forward there?
No, I know you say let's develop an agenda to deal with it, so I'm not really sure what you.
I think that's just the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trying, the other thing is, my frustration here is that as a municipality, we don't really have that many tools. So that's one of the things of really trying to, stretch our minds and think about, are there ways we could get citizens to volunteer? look into that sort of thing and explore some other possibilities here since we don't have those tools. What are some partnerships we can create? Be closer in closer contact with the county, whoever's working on housing at the county level.
Yeah.
See if they have ideas.
Well, that's something else for to do. I will see what the county is doing in terms of the eviction crisis.
Okay.
And as short-term rent regulations, what they have done.
Okay, great, thank you. So the next to last item here is setting a regular. I'm sorry.
Sorry, and I can follow up with the County Housing Consortium.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay.
And actually, I can call some of the tenants' rights folks and see what they're coming up with.
Mm-hmm.
There was some development of these neighborhood pods. Have you heard of these?
Mm-hmm.
No?
So Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. I have a sketchy understanding, but the idea is basically to get neighbors to connect with each other so that when they have needs, they can rely on each other. So I think it's everything from if part of the electrical grid goes out, especially in the wintertime and somebody doesn't have heat, you would be able to be in close contact with your neighbors. But it could also be whatever other needs, like perhaps even things like instead of every household purchasing a lawnmower, buy one lawnmower for the block and everybody shares that one mower. Do you have a better understanding or deeper understanding, Michelle?
It's just that interconnectedness and not, if in time of disasters or struggles that you're not depending on government and, depending on your neighbors and looking to your neighbors for resources.
This dovetails with Novo's philosophy, right?
With what philosophy?
From the Novo Foundation, the community helping community. And people, with federal government not being there for us, and with people that are at risk.
Yes, it's connected with that, but there's been some debate about whether or not this project should accept any outside money, because part of the idea, if you're creating community resilience, right, you don't want to be reliant on some outside funding source. Because that then skews the relationship of the people in the pod. I don't know where that answer lies. I'm just saying I know that's in the discussion.
Michelle, where's that pod? That pod word? Why pod?
I don't know. I didn't make it up, but it just seems like pockets, almost like pockets of areas or wards. I don't know. Could be wards, right? Neighborhoods. And then they have a captain.
Rennie, it's fascinating, but it's to me, on the one hand, if it happens, it's going to happen organically, but it's also it's also kind of intellectual and a little far-fetched at the same time. To me, I don't know. I love, it sounds good, but I don't know how do you pollinate it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the question of getting it going. I mean, it does. People who have immigrated to new places, or people who have very few resources, this is actually a lot of how they organize. So, I mean, a classic example from the 19th century was burial societies, where people would put in like 10 cents a month, a very small amount of money, just to ensure that, when a loved one died, there would be enough money for a funeral from the fund. There's these kind of things, all kinds of mutual aid societies like this.
Every month you make a contribution, and then once every year, or I don't know, it goes to one person. One person gets a big, who needs it the most, right? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not just intellectual. It's rooted in some past practice, but it probably is coming from some people who are, dreaming things right now. Whether they get off the ground, we'll see.
I think the Good Works Institute also deeply does some deep dives on this. And
Yeah.
They may have some solutions also.
Mm-hmm. I'll call them. That's a good idea.
Well,
So anything else in on that?
Not for me right now.
I'm good.
Okay. So in terms of regular meetings, do we want to just meet every other Thursday, or do we want to say like the second and fourth Thursday of every month, which means some months we would only meet, there would be an extra Thursday or something? Because I think it's important for us to have regular meetings.
I agree, but is twice a month, do you think, does everybody want that? It seems like,
I think given that we're just discussing putting together some new legislation, I think that every 2 weeks is good. And then if we end up with an extra meeting in a month, it can only be a benefit. We have a housing crisis. So.
okay.
So do we want to say what is today?
23rd.
Yeah, so it's the fourth. Today is the fourth Thursday of the month. So do we want to say the second and the fourth Thursday of every month?
Okay.
As opposed to, we could just say every other Thursday, but I think that would get us into
Yeah.
some months are going to have, there'd be, I don't know, I think we would get off rhythm.
Okay.
We get off rhythm because we'd have an extra week. I don't understand what you're saying.
There could be a month where there's if we did it every other week, there could be a month when there's 5 Thursdays. And so then we would move from the second and fourth Thursday then to the first and third Thursday of a month. And, it's just a choice. I don't.
What's wrong with doing every other Thursday?
Good with me, but
Because it's hard, it's easier to, because that changes when it falls every month. It's just it's just easier to keep in my brain anyway. The same part of the month, but not a big deal.
I think I would prefer also the second and fourth Thursday, just because it's easier to project out for a couple of months.
Okay.
If that's, are you okay with that, Michelle?
Yeah. So which date? I'm sorry.
So then next month, the second.
Well, Michelle, you can just go to your Outlook and choose the second.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know. I just want him to say the date so I don't.
Yeah, so it would be August
The
13.
people listening as well can know the date.
It would be August 13 and August 27.
Okay. So then we have 3 weeks to come back with the legislation for a short-term rental, not 2 weeks.
Oh, good. Okay. Excellent. Then we can go on vacation for a week. All right. Then the last thing is, do you all have any future witnesses you want to bring in, folks we want to talk to? You don't have to have them right now, but, if we do have some ideas, I'd like to go ahead and make connection.
I think, maybe once court opens, have Peter Frank come in and just give us an update on how things are going.
Oh, that's a great idea. Can you reach out to him and ask if he's available to do that? Okay, great. So if anybody occurs to either of you along the way, let me know and we'll try to get them in. All right. Anything else?
Do you guys feel that the zone, that our code, is an impediment to development?
Our zoning code?
Yeah.
Yes.
Michelle, you agree?
Yes, because right now I have this issue here in Ward 9 where someone wants to rezone to, put up apartments, and now we have to go through a rezoning process, that the council would have to sign off on. And
Right. Because I'm still thinking, I'd still like the council to take up the redoing our zoning. That was proposed before.
the form-based. Yeah, I don't think that there's any problem with the idea of form-based code. I think the problem was that it was super expensive for the group that was chosen. So
I know.
So that would be something to consider. That might be something for us to bring somebody in on to talk about form-based code and just to explore if there was a less expensive way to develop that.
Why would we bring the people that were chosen?
Oh, you mean just to speak to us?
And ask them if is there a way to make it cheaper, make it more palatable to our community?
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're 524,000 is the estimate. And even if they shaved off 200,000, it'll still seem to many like a preposterous amount of money. But, I feel very strongly that it's actually an investment in our future in so many regards that I think we somehow have to do it.
That's a great idea. So I will get in touch with the committee and see if we can arrange that. Because I know when we first talked about it, a number of people in the industry, architects and so forth, were claiming that we should be able to get something for more like $25,000. I don't know where they were getting that money. They were saying that Beacon shifted to form-based code. So I don't know if they were claiming that you could just, basically adopt another cities. I just don't know. That's what they were sort of saying.
Really? Anyway, I can't believe that is quite true, 25,000, but it's our code is as old as I am. Hasn't been changed in 58 years or 57 years, so it's really hurting us. And so, anyway, I don't know the best way to push that along, Randy, I guess is what I'm saying. So if you can, but I'm happy to stick my neck out.
Okay.
On that, and Andrea, if you're listening, you're going to give me some advice on that, where to raise it again, and because I believe that it should happen.
But yeah, I've been listening, so we can talk about it.
Okay.
The other thing is, short of inviting, maybe we could do as well, or instead of, at least at first, would be to invite the members of the committee that made the decision and ask them what their parameters were, what they were looking at, and try to get a sense of what the universe was that they saw.
Okay.
All right.
I believe they had three that they were picking from, three that were the finalists, and then they made a decision. So,
what committee was that, Rennie?
It was an ad hoc committee. I'm pretty sure that Jeffrey Ventura Morel was on it.
The zoning task force that the mayor established about a year ago to build the RFP and then recommend the consultants. But of course, this was all pre-COVID, so the world was a different place when they were doing the work. But yeah, Jeffrey was the liaison for that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll get in touch with one or all of them and see if we can talk to them sometime soon.
Well, thank you, Michelle and Rennie and Andrea.
Yes. So we'll call this meeting adjourned. I hope everybody has something nice planned for supper if you didn't eat already. And I hope you can stay out from underneath the lightning.
have a good night.
Okay, bye.